Another Endgame Masterclass, and we follow up on the Lucena and Phillidor, which we had in the last video. And if you haven't already watched it, watch it before you watch this video, because it lies the foundation for understanding what's going on. We have the Phillidor position here on the board. The only trouble for black is that it's not his turn, so he cannot move his rook to b6. That would enable him to make a very easy draw, getting here and just blocking the king here from going anywhere, so it's not getting to these squares here. So, but it's white to move. And of course, if he were to go to e6, then you would just give a check and we'll go back into the Phillidor position. That would be nice. But he's clever. So what does he do? He goes here. Oh. And if you go here, like we said in the last video, then this move is a disaster. This is coming and you can only prevent it from there with this move, and then comes here. Oh. And it's all lost. So what to do here? The thing is, it's still a draw. It's not an easy draw, but it's still a draw. So how do you play with white? And this was something a guy named Karstedts found out, that you have to find a very precise move here with black. Only one good move, or there may be another move. Rook e1 is the best way to play here. The thing is, of course, if white goes forward with this pawn, then there is a check here and we are back in the Phillidor draw. So and this move, and white is not getting anywhere because he can't still move forward, then you just take it with check. Can't move the king, then always take it, and if you move the king another way, you give a check. So this doesn't lead anywhere. You can move the rook, but black will just move the rook the same way. So nothing to see here. So king e6, threatening mate. Okay, this will have to defend. Notice that something like this does not help, both because of rook here is probably the easiest move, but you could also give a check and go into a winning pawn endgame. So king f8. By the way, very important rule of thumb. Very important rule of thumb. Go to the short side. And what is the short side? The short side is this side here, where there are only 3 squares out till the run. And well, this is the long side where there are 4. And why should the king go to the short side? Because this guy down here, the rook, he needs more space and prefers the long side. He will not, because on the short side, maybe black, if he's to operate on the short side, white will probably occupy the H file, and then black would be able to white will get a tempo by attacking the rook on the G file. So it needs to be able to attack from the B or A file, where it's far away from the king. So go to the short side. Sometimes it's nice to be short-sighted. Ha. Check, nothing else. And here, very important move, trying to push the pawn forward. If it's just allowed to push, then we'll soon reach the Lucena position. But there is this move. Oh no. And again, due to this rook, here, this cannot go to this square where it would like to go. Check, just go back, and so on. So that was, and on this move you just go here, and we will soon reach some of these positions that will be part of a later video. And by the way, this kind of position, I find it fantastic, or sort of intriguing, that it's so difficult. There are only 1 pawn and 2 rooks and 2 kings. There's five pieces, and playing it right is really difficult. Rook endings is not easy, and even they say it's always a draw, but that's might be right, but it's not always a draw when normal players play it, because it's so easy to misplay it for either side. Okay, let's see a little example here when something can be reached here. And here black makes a mistake at some point. So let's see. We'll switch it over and try to play white instead. And of course, the correct move here for white is if you go with the pawn, then we instantly get the Phillidor position. And you should know these transpositions by heart. But this move, of course, is correct. Here, threatening. Please, whoop. Like this. King, check, and I think this is correct. And here, that's smart. Winning a tempi. Rook e1, king f6, check. Getting the king here. Rook a1. And in this position, white can actually win with rook here, which is hard to see. In the game, played something like this, and after this, it's a known draw. We will, as I said earlier, we'll get back to this kind of position at some point in the Endgame Masterclass here on GM Talks. Here, white has the amazing rook d2. He's threatening e6, and black will have to give a check. And after this, again, this is threatening, or even worse, this move, and pushing the king all the way to h7. So check. And again, it's threatening to... The problem here for black is a typical endgame tactics that here in this situation, you always have to, oops, and due to this check, it's not... White's pawn is queening. So the rook cannot go that way. And this was not, and white gets to get the A file. Important move again. And here we have it on the B file, which is a big problem. Because after something like this, and this is a maneuver we will know again, white gets to play e6 next time because this is losing. So this was an example of the Karstedts getting crushed when white got exactly the right position when the rook was not on the right squares. So it's not easy, this stuff. It's really not easy. It's small nuances and you can easily get it wrong. So when you get this ending, don't think, it's just, and play fast. Really think, is this the correct position? Does the Phillidor principle apply? Does the Lucena position? Can I build a bridge? And so on. I'm getting a winning position or not winning position? In the next Rook endgame, in this masterclass, we will look at different situation where the pawn is advanced and the position of the black rook decides if it's a draw or a win. This will always also help you navigate these kind of endings when you're playing them yourself. Just saying, okay, with this it's probably a draw, with this it's probably a win, and so on. So it's not always you can calculate it precisely. There are also a lot of tactics in rook endings that you have to know, typical tricks, especially this, for instance, this in this situation here, where white is able to, due to transpose into a queen, into a pawn and king ending that's winning because the pawn is queening, and so on. Anyway, this was a GM Talks masterclass on the endgame with the Karstedts draw. Thank you for watching.